So far away, Lucas, and I guess audience at home, who is your favourite villain associated with The Flash?
I can't say he's definitely my favourite, but I do really enjoy seeing clips of it. I can't say that I've watched like the full TV show, but like the Flash show back in like the 80s or 90s or whatever, where they had Mark Hamill play one of the hammy villains.
But don't you want to see who?
He is the mask. Without the mask, he's nothing. Bupkis, not a zip. Just some boring, average, insignificant jerk nobody cares about.
Oh yeah, he plays like the trickster. He even has a cameo in Justice League Unlimited, where he's just at a bar, just drinking and being real sad. It's like, well, he's saving the world. Why is he going to bother fighting me? And like the Flash just goes and has a drink with him and says, okay, after you're done with your drink, will you go back to the hospital? And it's like, okay, Flash, you got me again.
Come on, we better get over there. What about your enemy? Oh, right. Dude, as soon as you finish your drink, turn yourself in.
Got me again, Flash.
Oh, but we're not talking about one of his, like, his funny, campy villains. We're talking about the one who went out of their way to ruin his life. Reverse Flash. As you've probably guessed from his name, Reverse Flash is a villain intrinsically linked to the DC hero The Flash, specifically the second incarnation of The Flash, Barry Allen, who the Reverse Flash fucking hates. So much so he once went back in time for the sole purpose of ruining his life. So, Lucas, what do you know about some Reverse Flash or Eobard Thawne? Which is just a name, right? That's definitely a name that exists, Eobard Thawne.
Just definitely a regular name, but hey, it might be in like the 1,000-year future that he's come from.
Yes, and I do like that where just in DC they randomly have characters who are from the future, and they never seem to acknowledge it. Like, oh yeah, like Booster Gold is from the future. He's not a superhero, he's just a dude from the future, and in the future, regular technology looks like superpowers. And he came back in time because he was a fucking loser in his future, and now he's a hero.
That's enough out of you, Buster. Hey, it's Booster. I'm Booster Gold, okay? Yo, dude,
It's essentially that future is the one that Syndrome from The Incredibles envisioned, right? When everybody's a superhero, no one is.
And he does what we'd all do in that situation, I think, of coming back to make himself a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we ask people, like, what would you do if you could, go back in time? It's like, well, I'd look up the lottery numbers. Or make a long bet.
The sports almanac, Karl.
Okay. And in that vein, Lucas, do you have like a plan for if you ever manage to go back into the past? Because for me, it would be go back at least 15 years and just bet on Leicester to win the Premiership. Because remember when that happened and it was 5,000 to 1 odds?
From underdog to top dog, their journey from 5,000 to 1 odds to Premier League champions has been watched by many.
That's the weird thing, isn't it? At some point, a lot of these teams are going to win the Premier League just like one season, but to go back at the lowest point in Leicester's career, whenever that would be, and just be like, I bet this year they're going to win the Premier League.
Yeah, and for context, 5,000 to 1 odds was some of the longest odds any bookie in the UK had ever given. And people made millions off of that. And my favourite part of like the Leicester story is they lost their first match. And one guy apparently put a 50p accumulator on, which would have paid out 2.5 grand. And when they lost their first match, he cashed out for 25 pence. At that point, do you really need the 25 pence? You want to see what happens, right? And he lost out on 2.5 grand.
Oh, God. That's so rough.
So bringing back to Eobard Thawne, he's a character defined by his hatred of Barry Allen.
It's me you want, Thawne. You don't have to kill thousands of innocents to bring me down.
No. No, I don't. But I choose to.
Which is kind of funny because initially he really did like Barry Allen, so much so that he went to work in a museum dedicated to the Flash's exploits and learned everything about his life. He even went as far as to get plastic surgery to look more like him and then try to recreate the experiment that gave him his superpowers.
And presumably that's where he gets his powers also?
Yep, and he's got basically the same powers as the Flash, but he sees himself as the Flash's inverse. Hence, Reverse Flash. However, his mind was sort of broken, at least according to, some versions of the comics, where he went back in time to meet Barry Allen and learned that he was destined to become the Flash's greatest villain. And just the knowledge that he was going to, fuck over a person he looked up to so much just broke his mind, and he just went about becoming It's, well, if I'm going to be a villain, I'll be the greatest villain.
Yeah, it's so strange, isn't it? Because obviously there's multiple different interpretations of time travel, but that is one where it's always happened that way, that he forces himself back in time to become the Flash's greatest villain, which wouldn't happen if he didn't fuck with time. It's that weird thing, yeah.
Time travel is complicated, and very few bits of media ever get it exactly right. There's always at least one plot hole when it comes to media involving time travel. It's like the Terminator, right? Of like, oh no, Skynet failed after sending back exactly one Terminator. It's like, well, send back 50. Who gives a fuck?
Don't do that.
It's like, well, they've got a time machine and infinite resources. Send back another Terminator, which they do. Right?
And they do, but at that point, you know whether it works, like, or not immediately, right?
Yes, you should do.
Because, in theory, the moment you send it back in time, if, like, your enemy hasn't disappeared, then that Terminator failed.
Yeah,
so just keep sending them over and over and over.
Unless you happen to exist in a fictional universe where sending someone back in time creates a branching timeline, which is another way some media handle branching timelines, and other pieces of media just ignore it entirely. And I do think one of my favourite interpretations of time travel happens in the game Quantum Break. And it's just the moment they invent time travel, the person who invents it, their future self walks straight through the door. Like, the instant they turn the machine on, their future self walks through the door and says hello.
Because why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Yeah. But getting back to gripes, one of my most hated tropes about time travel is when there's a story where time travel is an element and the characters in the story act like they have to rush or there's not enough time. It's like, you've got infinite time, you've got time travel.
Where were we at 7:30?
I don't know, going to Hagrid's?
Come on, and we can't be seen.
Hermione!
And obviously it depends on the way time travel is depicted within that story.
Yeah.
But I do give it credit where credit is due, even though I don't necessarily like it. But I do like the little line in Big Bang Theory.
Which is?
When they ask Sheldon, like, oh, have you not ever considered trying to build a time travel device? And he's like, no, because if I'd built one, I'd already know that I've built one, so there's no point.
If either of us ever invents time travel, we agree our first stop will be this meeting today in precisely 5 seconds. Well, that's disappointing.
You know, it's pretty good logic, right? It's the Jimmy Carr joke about it. Where he's like, oh, what would you do, Jimmy, if you had a time machine? What would you say to your younger self? It's like, well, I'd go back and say, don't worry, because eventually you invent a time machine. Right? But I hate when like the person has access to time travel and acts like, oh no, we need to do everything perfectly. It's like, no, you don't, because if you fuck up, go back and try again. You have time travel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if one Terminator fails, you can just send more.
Yeah, unless, obviously, you exist in a universe with branching timelines, which is a whole other kettle of fish. So let's move back to Reverse Flash now. So, well, you know, initially he was going to be Professor Zoom, because that's the other thing as well. Like, he starts off with Professor Zoom, but that name was lame as fuck, so then becomes Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
But basically, from the moment he learns that he's going to be the Flash's nemesis, he sets about becoming the Flash's greatest nemesis and uses his not insignificant amount of power to basically dedicate his entire life to fucking over Barry Allen in every way he can.
Which is fantastic, right?
And Lucas, how aware are you of just how petty Reverse Flash is?
So, not really. I am way more, like, knowledgeable in terms of, like, kind of Marvel side of things, and the only real interaction I remember with Reverse Flash is, unfortunately, not the best stuff, which is obviously, like, the CW show.
Now who's the villain, Flash? Now who's the villain?
Well, the CW show is fine, and I think if they'd have kept the tone...
Yeah.
I think if they'd have kept the tone specifically established in the musical episodes, I would have watched that show every day.
Do you happen to know anything original?
As a matter of fact, I've been working on something all day.
Wow, things really are easier in musicals.
Yeah. I'd be binge watching that shit right now. Because the best thing the Flash did is when they realised, wait, Grant Gustin is a really good singer. He was literally on Glee.
I'm glad you came.
Also, that last Melissa Benoist from Supergirl was also on Glee.
Hey, I was just about to come find you.
Pull down your pants.
And the best episode of The Flash is the crossover with Supergirl, where it's just like a 2-episode long musical. And I wish the show had been that the entire time, because it's so fucking funny.
That's the thing is, I appreciate those episodes, and some of the earlier seasons of The Flash are, like, decent to good. I did enjoy it at the time, but the moment any of those shows got past, like, the first few years, that entire CW universe started just falling apart.
Barack Obama.
It becomes a mess. Like, Arrow is the worst example, where Oliver Queen spends the first 2 seasons, he shoots at least one person per episode. And then by season 3, he's talking about how I need to protect this city from my threats. It's like, Ollie, you're the single greatest mass murderer that exists in this city. You've killed like 400 people.
To be fair, it's only 1 season of Mass Murderer Ollie, but it's still an entire season where he's like, I'm going to fix the city, and he just kills everyone.
He kills like one person per episode, and it's like, Ollie, stop it. Same thing with like The Flash, where in the first season, he needs to learn to get faster. It's like, okay, yeah. But then like they do 9 straight seasons where he opens every episode saying, I'm Barry Allen, and I'm the fastest man alive. What's the threat of the week? Someone who's faster than you are. Fuck's sake!
Yeah, because it's similar to, like, I think it's a line that a lot of people kind of gloss over, but don't come at me for spoilers, because it's how the show opens.
Yes.
Where, like, My Hero Academia Season 1 is like, hi, I'm Deku, and I'm the greatest hero that ever lived. This is my story.
Yep.
And that's not me spoiling anything, because I haven't even caught up. That's just how the show, like, opens.
Yeah, it's like, but it's more hilarious when it's like The Flash, and it's like, I'm the fastest man alive, and every season threat is a villain who's faster than he is.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say as well, like similar to my gripes with time travel, I have huge issues with how super speed is handled in media, specifically how inconsistently it's portrayed. Because realistically, it is the single most broken superpower in existence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have a character with super speed, there is no threat that character cannot deal with because they have super speed. For example, with the Flash, the moment you establish that the Flash can perceive time fast enough to see a bullet leave a gun, from that point onwards, anything moving slower than a bullet from a gun is not a threat. Because the Flash can see the bullet and react to it, and it's no problem.
I haven't watched it all, as I say, but quite a spoilery moment, I will say, for one of the later seasons of The Flash when a character dies. So you all really, at this point, if you still care, this is just a little bit of warning for you. But in like season 6 or 7 or whatever it is, they show that Barry Allen has trained to throw his lightning and catch it.
Yep.
And then they kill off Iris by getting her to like stand in front of a lightning bolt that he's just thrown, even though they've already shown in that show he's fast enough to perceive and catch that lightning.
Yep. It's like super speed is it's the most broken shit ever. It's like, for example, in the comics, Flash does something called the infinite mass punch because someone somewhere remembered the first lesson of physics of force equals mass times acceleration. Mm-hmm. It's like, wait, how fast can the Flash run? Well, infinite speed. Okay, so technically you can punch with infinite mass. Why has he never done this before?
Well, I mean, he punched with infinite energy, right? But yes, it's like, at what point do you like put that into any kind of limiter or effect or anything? You can't, because the way that they set it up in DC is that Barry Allen literally just has like infinite speed because of the Speed Force.
Yeah, and the Speed Force is like the bullshit excuse they use for him running faster than the speed of light. And it's like the moment you introduce that concept, nothing in his world should ever be a threat. I think I talked in a previous episode, like there's one version of DC where they talk about how the Flash just entered the Speed Force and just micromanages the fuck out of his hometown. Mm-hmm. And they just say, we don't even know what the Flash is anymore, they just know it's this red blur that solves every problem, because he's everywhere at once.
It just exists in the entire city at all times.
Yeah, but then you'll have like comic books or TV shows where he just gets like backhanded by a regular villain. It's like when I was watching like The Flash, it was like season 3, and he's still getting cold cocked by random mugger number 3. And it's like, I saw him run faster than a bullet.
Yeah.
I saw him do that. There's no way random mugger number 3 is cold cocking Barry Allen. I don't care.
And I still do love just how dumb some of the Flash's villains are, but full credit to Captain Cold to just being like, but whatever made the floor real slippy.
Well, to be fair, yeah, you can't run if you slip it. It's one of the few ways that it's one of the few things that a villain can do that I actually think would work on the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Like Captain Boomerang, the fuck are you going to do? Well, the other one's Mirror Master. Because Mirror Master can jump into a mirror. So I think like that will probably work against the Flash ranks. He's moving as fast as light does. But what the fuck is Captain Boomerang going to do? I don't care how fast he throws that boomerang. I saw him outrun a lightning bolt last week. A boomerang's not going to do shit. But if he's running and the floor's slippery, he might fall over and break his neck.
You ready? Set.
Dad, go. Wait. Oh, God.
And I'm sure there's like things in the Flash where he's learned to like run on ice and stuff, but
I don't think friction exists. The Speed Force removes friction, right? Because technically there's something else we've talked about in the past of required secondary powers, which is a thing comic books don't ever really do, but if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, makes sense. For example, if a character is super strong, they also have to be super durable, even if super durability isn't one of their listed powers, because you need to be durable enough to use that strength. Like, it's one thing to be able to lift up a tank, but your bones need to be durable enough to take the weight of said tank. Same for like Barry Allen.
If you're gonna like punch through a wall,
break your hand.
Yeah.
Like for Barry Allen, if he can run that fast, he has to have super perception as well. He's not just like he runs really fast, he's able to perceive like, his surroundings at that speed, otherwise he'd just run straight into a fucking wall, right? Second one. Like, his first mission would be him sprinting into a wall and exploding.
That is one thing, I guess, that the Justice League version, Zack Snyder's Justice League version answers, in fact, is why does he, not fear Captain Cold anymore? And it's because he just skates everywhere, Karl.
I hate that. So there's a really telling interview with Zack Snyder where he talks about how, every other version of the Flash just runs really fast. However, that makes no sense. The way my Flash works is that he enters the Speed Force so there's no friction. So he moves like a speed skater. And that's why he runs like he shat himself. The problem with that is, the speed you see him moving, every stride he does is like 4 miles. Every step is like 4 city blocks. At which point he would not be able to move or react to anything in his way. Because every step is like... Do you know when you're going for a run and something gets in your way and you go like... Ugh! Like now imagine that, but your strides are like 4 city blocks. And that's why I know Zack Snyder's a hack, because he just wanted to be different than literally every other way super speed has ever been demonstrated in media. Because it makes more sense if the person is running like a normal person would, they're just running really, really fucking fast. They still take just as many steps as you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't make sense that they're able to like stop and maneuver on a dime if each step they take is 4 city blocks, right?
And I think that's why near everyone, when you ask like what version of super speed do you prefer, like obviously not the weirdo Zack Snyder fans, because they're just going to answer that version. But most sane people will answer that they would prefer the version in X-Men.
Yep, where you see Quicksilver.
Where they show Quicksilver, like, the world slow down around Quicksilver.
And I will always give those X-Men movies props because they show what super speed will look like from the perspective of the person who's moving super fast. So it would be, it's like the time travel thing I mentioned earlier, right? Of they wouldn't need to worry or rush because they move so fast that the rest of the world just stops. And that's what you see with like with Quicksilver, right? You just see him like casually just wandering around, taking in his surroundings when like the X-Mansion is exploding. And it's only when the explosion starts to get close to him that he actually starts to move with any urgency.
And I think there's a similar effect pulled off in the CW Flash at some point where like someone knocks a coffee over and you just see like the coffee move in super slow motion or something.
Yeah, and the Flash just looks and goes, whoop. Had a similar thing. It's in the latest season of Lois and Clark. Someone shoots at Superman and he has enough time while the bullet is leaving the gun to look around and decide that, okay, I need to get dressed and become Superman, reveal my secret identity. And he has, enough time to look and contemplate, okay, and he takes one last look at Lois, and then, he goes and puts his costume on. Or similar like Metro Man in Mega Man, right? Where he goes and has an entire midlife crisis mid-conversation.
Ever since I can remember, I've always had to be what the city wanted me to be. But what about what I wanted to do?
But it's like, no, Zack Snyder saw all of that and went, no, I can do it better. My Flash runs like he shat himself.
Oh, God.
But bring it back to Professor Zoom, a.k.a. Reverse Flash, a.k.a. Abad Thorn. And speaking of shitting yourself, he's probably not above making it look like Barry Allen shit himself. So you're not familiar at all with any of the stuff that he's done?
I've heard like little highlights here and there, and I can't overly remember them, but I know that basically just make Barry Allen's life a living hell, right?
Yeah, so what he does is, in one comic, he runs so fast, he goes up back in time. And he becomes a sort of time ghost that haunts Barry Allen's childhood. And he basically just sticks around Barry Allen for his entire childhood and adolescent life. And all he does is just make sure that he always has a bad day. You go, he never does anything too noticeable. Admittedly, he does burn his house down, and then he gets his mum killed, and then he opens the door so his dog runs outside and gets hit by a car, and then also he did kill a kid who was Barry Allen's best childhood friend and removed him from the timeline so that Barry Allen would grow up with no friends. But that's basic supervillain shit, right?
It's super basic, yeah.
Yeah, he's way pettier than killing his mum, deleting his friend from existence so he's lonely, and burning his house down and killing his dog. Because he also would hide under Barry Allen's bed at night. So Barry Allen would have crippling anxiety thinking there's a monster under his bed, and every time his dad comes in to see if there's a monster, he'd just run away really fast. So he also gave Barry Allen crippling anxiety and probably made him piss his pants at least once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
He also, on one occasion, just pushed him down the stairs. That's the thing as well. He didn't do it to kill him. He just did it so he broke his arm so he couldn't play sports. So that's the thing, right? It's not the fact he pushed him downstairs. It's that he pushed him downstairs in such a way where he'd break his arm so he couldn't play sports. Then another time when he was actually playing sports, he ran out onto the field when Barry Allen's playing baseball and moves his arm slightly so he misses a baseball catch. So the rest of his team hates him.
And that's the thing, right? Is okay, cool. A lot of villains go back in time and just straight up fight someone in
or
stories.
kill someone, right? I'm going to go back and make sure you were never born.
But it's way more villainous to just go back and be like, I'm going to make sure your entire childhood was a little bit shit.
Yes, and just every time Barry Allen's having a good day, Reverse Flash comes out of nowhere and makes sure he has a bad one. Just because he hates him that much. And that's the thing, he never... Realistically, at that point, he's just a kid. He could just go and break his neck in half a second. But he doesn't do that because that'd be too easy. So instead, I said, he hides under his bed. He literally hides under his bed.
Don't you have anything better to do than trying to destroy my life?
Destroying you is my life.
That still doesn't explain why.
And in that vein, Lucas, what's something that you think Reverse Flash probably did, but it wasn't shown in one of those comics?
I think he just keeps untying his shoelaces.
Oh, he absolutely did that every day.
Yeah.
Just ripped up his homework, all that stuff. There's a joke. It's the thing where for years people thought it was real. And I think it shows how petty Reverse Flash is, that people thought a shitpost edit was real. And it's a panel of Reverse Flash, just taunting Barry Allen. And the edit says something like, oh yeah, every time you slept with your wife, I'd jerk you off at super speed. So you thought you had So you thought you were shit at sex? And people thought for a while that was real. Because it seems like something he would do. Right?
It was me, Barry. I made them draw Lola Bunny with fewer sexual features so that you wouldn't be horny and reduce your blood flow to make you a millisecond slower. Slow enough for me to kill Iris.
And it does sound like it. And I like to imagine just every time Barry Allen gets a shower, he comes in and just turns it to gold.
He probably does, right? Because Barry Allen did not have super speed when he was doing this. He was just a kid. Yeah. And just Eobard Thawne hates him that much. He just ensured that this kid's childhood would be fucking nightmarish.
But, like, not so nightmarish that he just straight up immediately kills everyone, right?
No, yeah, he could have done.
It's like he could have made it 10,000 times worse.
No, but he made... It's like having a rock in your shoe.
But,
like, you know, a
for
dull
your
ache.
Entire childhood life.
Like, or a dull ache in your neck, right? It's not the worst thing, but imagine it never going away. Or, you know, needing to sneeze. That feeling of needing to sneeze, but imagine that for, like, forever. It's like, well, it's a minor inconvenience if it happens, like, you know, briefly. But if that was your entire life, it's like those people who have, like, hiccups for 30 years, right?
Oh,
and they talk about it being like, it is an unending nightmare. Like, they talk about someone like people try to commit suicide over that shit. Yeah. Like, people have, like, you know, bad insomnia where they can't sleep properly. It's like, it's hardly the worst thing not being able to, like, you know, get a full night's sleep, but stretch it out over 10, 20, 30 years.
It's compounding, right? Like, yeah. Oh, it's just one of those things, though, where just I think that might be, like, the most villainous thing to do is to not make everything bad for, like, a day. Make everything a little bit bad for his entire life.
Well, keep in mind as well, like, the Joker talks about how he became the Joker because he had one bad day. Reverse Flash gave, like, Barry Allen 15 straight years of bad days. Just 15 years of nothing ever going his way. And, like, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the times where he also did this to Batman. Because there's one comic where Reverse Flash beats up Batman and then holds up I think it's a letter from his dad from the past. And then in front of Batman, rips it up and then disappears into time. Just the fuck you didn't win, the ultimate villain move. And Batman just starts crying. He made Batman cry. And yeah, this is a fun one, right, Lucas? It's not fun for Barry Allen, but like no. I enjoy just discussing and learning about dumb comic shenanigans, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I always do, yes.
Yeah. Like, don't we have a channel where we kind of just do that all the time?
A little bit, yeah. I think we do.
It's called Wiki Weekends. If anyone out there does, like, you know, enjoy me and Lucas riffing on, like, you know, random comic shenanigans, you can go check out Wiki Weekends, link below. There's also a Discord where you can make suggestions for things you'd like to see us cover on future episodes. Otherwise, thank you for watching, everybody, and we'll see you all next time.
Yeah.
Just that one, right? Just he killed his dog, Lucas.
That's rough.
It is. And the thing is that it's not like he kills his dog, it's that he makes him think he killed his dog.
Oh, no.
Because, like, for his entire childhood, Barry Allen thinks that he killed his dog when he accidentally left the door to his new house open. And it turns out Reverse Flash went back in time. He did lock the door, but Reverse Flash opened it and the dog ran outside. So he makes him think he killed his dog.
That's
then
brutal.
He pushed him down the stairs. It's the thing is though, just pushing someone down the stairs. It's such a simple thing, but it's such a dick move because I think that's like tantamount to a murder attempt, pushing someone down the stairs, right? Because like sometimes you look at a flight of stairs and think, that'd kill me.
Oh yeah.
He's the monarch of motion, the sultan of speed, the wizard of Wizzo, yes indeed. Go from here to China in a no time flat, beat the speed of light and